Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to make a slingshot. The first thing you need to do is get a Y-shaped branch. And now after you get your Y-shaped branch, you have to determine the thickness and the length of it. So the thickness at the forks, the thickness should be the size of your index finger or bigger, and the bottom part should be the thickness of your thumb, or a little bit bigger than that. And the length, how you're going to determine that is hold your Y-shaped branch like this and cut out what you need. Well, basically cut out what's unnecessary. So what you're going to do is leave about an inch at the top so you can tie your rubber bands. An inch after your fingers is what I meant. So you'll have space to tie your rubber bands, and cut out the bottom part because, as you can see, I don't need that. And the next thing right after that, what we're going to do is we're going to shave off all the bark. So that's all you need to do for your slingshot. Well, the base of the slingshot. Alright, so what I did was I cut off the bottom part using a saw. I also cut off the two top pieces using the saw as well. And then right after, I got a small knife and shaved off all the birch bark, or the bark. Alright guys, so what I did was I got the saw, this exact one, and cut off the bottom part using it, and I also cut off the top part, and I used a knife just to shave off some of the bark off of it. There it is. That's the perfect size I need for a slingshot. Alright guys, so the next thing you'll need is some bands to power your slingshot. So I'm going to give you a few ideas of what you could use. It really depends on how much power you need. Some slingshots, they're made for, you would make them for indoor target practice, and some slingshots would be much more higher powered with better bands for hunting. So I'm going to give you a few ideas now. The first thing is, of course, large rubber bands, like these. These I ordered a whole bunch of them online. But you could also get the same thing from really old inner tire tubing of older cars and older bicycles. So that's the first thing that I would recommend. Make sure what you get is stretchy. That's the first thing. The next thing is rubber bands tied together. This obviously wouldn't be as strong as the other methods, but if that's all you have, then use it. So what you do is take the rubber bands, run this through there, grab this part and pull it. That's all you have to do. And tie 4 or 5 of these together and you'll have one side of the band. You'll obviously have to make 2 of these. The next thing is exercise bands. These ones. These are TheraBand. You can order these online or get them in stores. But you'll have to actually cut these. That's what it looks like when it's all cut up and ready. Another type of exercise band is this one. It's tubing. This one I bought at Canadian Tire. You could also cut these up and put them to the right size. These ones are really strong. Another thing you could get is surgical tubing, which looks like this. You could get about 6 to 10 feet online from eBay, and make sure it's the right thickness, and when you get the 6 to 10 feet you'll be able to make a lot of slingshots from it, so that's also a good idea. It's called surgical tubing. Make sure it has the right thickness though. And the last thing is ready-made store-bought bands. These ones are already attached. They're made to go over this. But what you could also do is just use this method. Put it over the top and tie it. Just like that. You can get them on eBay, you can get them at hunting stores, but obviously these will be more high powered than anything you'll make at home, but it's a lot more fun to just make them on your own. Okay, so that's it for the rubber bands. And of course the length of the rubber bands that I would recommend would be around 8 to 9 inches, nothing longer than that, because then it would be just way hard to pull and your hand would be way far back from the slingshot when you're actually trying to pull it, and it'll make it much more difficult. So keep them around, I'd say 7 to 9 inches. Keep them around that range and you won't have any problems. Alright guys, now what you're going to need to do is make a pouch for your slingshot. Whatever you're, to launch whatever you're going to use, like rocks, marbles, you're going to have to make a pouch for it. So once you get your piece of cloth or whatever you're using, I'll talk about that in a second, you'll have to cut it at about, so it's 5 inches long, 1.5 inch in width, and you'll have to put 2 holes in it using a hole puncher or a hot screwdriver. Be careful with that. And make sure the holes are about almost an inch away from the end of the pouches. Make sure it's like that. And what you're going to use for it is a strong fabric or cloth. What material you're going to use is a strong fabric or a cloth. Anything you can find that's strong enough to do the job. You can also take many layers of duct tape, put the sticky sides together, and once you do that, you can put after you put many layers, it's going to become strong enough to be used as your pouch. You can also use a cell phone holster, a pouch from an old cell phone holster, a leather one. It's a carrying case for a cell phone. You can also cut some leather from an old purse to use as material. You can also use a shoe tongue from an old shoe that no one's using. And make sure the edges are cut off, because that's something you don't need. So use scissors and round off the edges to make it look good, and so it's more efficient. Alright guys, so the last step is putting everything together. And for that you'll need something for tying everything together. What you could use for tying is electrical tape, zip ties, some string or some thin string or dental floss, and also rubber inner tire tubing or some rubber bands. I'm going to use electrical tape. So what you do is you get your rubber band, get the pouch that you're using, take the rubber band, put it in through the side that holds your projectile or your marble or rock. So it has to go in through this side. It has to go in through the side that holds your projectile. So how you do that is you put it in, pull that through, fold it back, pull, and tie this area up. So I'm going to do that on both sides and get back to the video. Alright, this part is now complete. I attached the bands to the pouch. Now all we have to do is attach the bands in the pouch to the slingshot. How you're going to do that is you're going to put it over about that much. Just wrap it around with your electrical tape. Do the same on both sides and make sure the amount of space that you put on the slingshot is equal to on both sides, or else your slingshot will be uneven. Like that. It should be about 1.5 inches. So I'll do that and get back to the video. Alright guys, so I attached the rubber bands to the slingshot using some electrical tape, and also just to make it look cooler and make it a bit easier on the hands, I also wrapped the handle with electrical tape. So here it is. This is the finished product. You're ready for hunting, pest control, or target practice. There it is.